So we're in Dalet Amud Beis. So we said, how could you tell me that mechitzas are deraisa when you have you learn it out from the aron in the heichal, which was 10 tfachim, and that was made to separate. He said, well, that according to Rabbi Yehuda, it wasn't 10 tfachim; it was only 7.5 tfachim. More so, what about Rav Meir, who says all amos are conventional? What's the point? How could you say it's halacha Moshe Sinai when indeed according to him it is deraisa? Because according to him you could learn out 10 tfachim from the aron because it was a conventional 1.5 amas plus the kaporis, which brought you to 10 tfachim. The answer is you're right. According to him, the etzem din of mechitza, of separation, could be learned out from there of 10 tfachim, but you need it for the other things, namely good lavud, the good achos, the good asik, and finally dof and akuma. Let's just catch up in the Rashi's there. I think we're up to bebeinanis, which is slightly above the middle of the wide lines, right? So Rav Meir holds you measure it in a mid-range, regular, normal amma, which is ba'ama bas vav. Bein zechodam, which is the like a regular person. That's how you measure 6 tfachim, being the arm's length. V'yesh gedola mimena. There are, however, measurements that are bigger than a 6 tefach Kedamrina perik b'ketzat seilin, as we'll get to in Psachim. Sheyam osay b'shushan abira. The Gemara there says there are 2 types of measurements of an amma in shushan abira. Achaz yaseir al shel Moshe chati etzba v'achaz yaseir aleho chati etzba. One half a finger's breadth bigger than another one, even another half a finger breadth bigger. Nimtzis yaseir al shel Moshe etzba. So there are different measurements. We'll get to that B'ez Hashem in some time, but. What we have to know now is that Einachami, according to Meir, really could learn out the din of mechitza directly from the Torah, from the laws of the measurements of the Aron, and the fact that Hashemayim Shemayim Lashem Ve'aretz Asal Livnei Adam, and that the God Kadosh Baruch Hu does not come down into our domain, which is beneath 10 tfachim. But you do need it anyway. You need halacha Moshe Misinai good for these 3 famous halacha Moshe Misinais, which. Again, a lot of people get to in Sukkah, so it's really in Yonah D'Yemez, where I already saw some Sukkahs being built yesterday. L'gud, Amrina and Bekamadoch, they good achis, good asik. There's a type of good where you extend the wall downwards, and another type of good where you extend the wall upwards, depending on the circumstances. Upachos begimel kolavid, and of course the famous rule of less than 3 is it's like an extension. V'losh and love would come sniff. It's like a sniff, like an extension of something, like an addition. Davar katzer shasifalav verichuhu, like a narrow thing which is extended. So even though we always think of love as more like closing an open area, which it is that, but I guess the word itself is really like we're taking that whatever it is that you're trying to enclose, and we're extending that thing with a little bit of an addition. So that's a little bit more of an exact concept of what's really going on with loved. Okay, fine. Okay, so let's go back to the Gemara now. 2 dots, but the 5 lines up. Right. So Mishnah says if the korah was 20 amas, above 20 amas from the ground, and you have to, you want to come in. Lessen it in order to validate the mavi, right? Because the mavi can't be carried in if the korah, which closes up that mavi, is above 20 amas. So kama mayit. So how much should you lessen it? Kama mayit. How much should you lessen it? Kama tzarachle. What do you lessen it? How much you need? What kind of question? How much you lessen it? You measure. You have to go. You can go 20 amas. We learned that already before, that the exact airspace could be 20 amas, but it can't be more. So you lessen it to the shear that is required. So what exactly is Gemara's question? He says, Ella, no. That's not my question. My question is, Ella Rechavo B'kamo. How wide or how big does the airspace, does the place where you made it higher, right? So what do you have to do? You have to make the ground higher underneath the korah to lessen the distance between the korah and the floor, right? That's the imai. I mean, you could You could have go up and take the core and bring it down. You could do that, but assuming that's not possible, the easier way to do it is to raise the floor. Well, how much of the floor has to be raised in order to create a space that's good enough? Is it like what, an inch? You can raise 1 inch of the dimensions of the mavli. What do you need? How much of that mavli needs to be raised to create a valid lessening of the height of that korah? So Rav Yosef tefach. Rav Yosef answered that all you need is a tefach, which is exactly the width of a korah. Right, so if you're picturing the entranceway of the mavli, you have the korah on top, and that korah is a tefach thick all the way up there. All you got to do is take that same tefach parallel, raise it, get some dirt, raise the floor raise the floor however much you have to, but how wide does that raise have to be? A tefach wide, paralleling the tefach of the korah, and then you're okay. Which is what, like 4 inches, 3 to 4 inches. We're not talking about a big amount. That would really be a very small job. Abai says not so fast. No, it's not that easy. Arba, you have to raise 4 tfachim of the area underneath the korah towards the inside of the mavli, 4 tfachim. Okay, I mean 4 tfachim have to be raised. That's all the way across the width of the mavli, deep 4 tfachim deep, which is what.
Assuming that the mavli is 4 tfachim wide, or they're just saying 4 tfachim because that's
no. However wide if the korah is right here and this is the mavli, right? However wide this area is, you got to go 4 tfachim deep, raised into it and raise it. So
you got to raise it so you have 20 almost between top and bottom.
Okay, but I could raise it just.
No, I understand. But he's saying 4. But how wide is this thing up here? It doesn't matter how wide it is?
Doesn't matter. The korah, right. The korah is generally a tefach wide. That's the assumption. The standard korah is a tefach wide. But you have to go more into it, not just a tefach, which would parallel the korah, but you have to go an additional 3 tefachim in.
And you need to go the whole area of the opening across.
Yeah.
Right, the total width, 4 tefachim in. Correct.
I don't know, so that's only 20 almost from top to bottom.
Correct. Okay, let's see here. Lema. So we're going to try to understand the underpinnings of this issue. What exactly is going on here between Abaye and Rav Yosef? Lema b'ha kamifligi. Let's assume that the machlokes is as follows: the mandiyama tefach, the one who says all you need is a tefach kasavar mutar shtamish tachas korah. See, these issues are issues that are going to be brought up more later on. But right now, the question is: are you able, when you talk about a beam that stands, as a reminder to the world that, hey, this is the end of the entranceway. Right here is Wilshire begins, right after this korah. So don't you be careful. Don't you dare carry outside of it. Can you carry underneath the korah? Or can you only go up to the korah, but you're not allowed to carry underneath the korah? That is a issue that we are now saying is actually at play between Abaye and Rav Yosef. So the Mandiyom tefach, the one who says that all you need is a tefach, he holds now you're allowed to actually carry things up to underneath the beam, and if you can, if you're actually carrying something at that point where you're raised that amount where now you're less than 20 amas from the korah, as you're walking and using whatever it is that you're using there, you will come to recognize that there's a beam on top of you that's within 20 amas, because it's got the requisite height, because you've raised the floor that amount. On the other hand, Tachas Korah, Umandi Amar top of the page, Hayam and Aleph, Umandi Amar Kasava also Shtamish Tachas Korah. He will argue that you're not allowed to use the space underneath the korah, so you need a chashuva distance before you get to the korah, because you can't. I guess when you're underneath it, you're more cognizant of it. But if you can't be underneath it because you're not allowed to carry underneath it, so you have to create something before, and that needs to be a chashuva amount. We know the minimum chashuva amount that we recognize in halacha is the 4 by 4 area. That's halacha is considered the minimum amount. So if it's 4 by 4, then already it's considered something chashuv that will serve to raise the floor and help you recognize that you're about to walk towards the end of the area. And l'chorah, that's what's going on here. Let's catch up on the Rashis here. Okay, Ubal you want to come to lessen the area because the Korah is too high. Last is binyan itzav. You want to make some kind of platform or take some earth. Tachas Korah ba'eretz ma'ed gova. You want to lessen and diminish the height of the airspace of the distance between the floor and the beam. And I guess getting up there is not an option. You can't go up there and just lower the beam. That might be, more complicated in certain circumstances. So what do? So the simple way of understanding the question is how much must you raise the ground? Well, that's not a valid question. Look the distance, and you got to get to 20, or you want to hit below 20 mark, so you just got to raise it to commensurate to the distance. That's what kind of question is that? You don't want the opening to be more than 20. But that's a very basic idea. So no, you don't understand what my question was. My question was Rechovah Shel Miut. Okay, the width of this diminishing that you're doing, the raising of the ground that you're doing, how much must you enter into the mavui? Okay, along the entire width of that mavui, how much must you enter in raising the ground? Okay, is it one tefach? Is it 4 tefachim? Is it 4 amas? Whatever it is, how much of that ground must be raised? So the first answer is tefach. Keneged Rechovah Shel Korah v'tachta, paralleling the width of that korah, which we said already is generally a tefach, and underneath it. While Abaye says no, you got to go enter. You have to raise 4 tefachim's worth. So Madi Omar tefach kasav mutashtamish tachas korah. The one who says you have to raise it a tefach will hold you're allowed to carry underneath the crossbeam. The Amar, why? What's the lumdis? The lumdis here. Chudei hachitza yored v'seisim. Here we're already using the halacha Moshe Sinai of good asik and good achis, and we do this with pi tikra, right? We have are you allowed to carry underneath the overhang of these motels? Okay, so you're out in the thing, and can you carry? So well, most people tell you since. Right, which is pi tikra. If you have an overhang and there's a thickness to the overhang, that thickness that you're looking at when you're looking at the hotel, at the motel, so that thickness comes straight down and creates like a barrier for you. So if you wanted to get your USA Today, from the outside, and you want to pick it up and take it inside, could you? The answer is yes, if you had that overhang coming down. So that the korah also has that tefach flatness, and that goes straight down. But if the flatness of the outer part, the part that's right by Wilshire Boulevard, is one that's going down, then why can't I walk all the way up to Mamish Wilshire, to that inch of Wilshire, and if I look straight up, I'm over the korah, and I recognize that I'm there. But the lumdis, why is because the reason why you can carry underneath the korah is because it's the outer ledge of the korah that comes straight down to form that imaginary mechitza, right? So according to this lumdis, it's really what you're doing is you're closing off the mavi, right? In other words, which is a whole other thing we're going to get into, a whole other concept of what it is, and we'll get even into it over here as well. What is the function of this korah? What does it really do? Is it simply there to remind everybody like a bell, hey, be careful, this is the end of the alleyway, and Wilshire is about to begin, Rosh Hashanah is about to start? Or does it actually serve as a mechitza to separate the mavi from Wilshire Boulevard? Now, how does it do it? It's wide open. Teretz is lumdis, because you have that flatness of the korah coming straight down, continuing straight down, and you have like an imaginary mechitza, not different than the imaginary mechitza you have outside of your motel door, as you see the parking lot, but yet you're still taking the newspaper because the flatness of the thing comes down. So in a sense, it's like you're enclosed.
Till now, we've just been thinking of it as a reminder.
Till now, right? So but we never really got into the ultimate lumdis. But clearly, if you're learning this pshat that it comes down.
Right, but did we learn earlier that we always take on these sort of things the chumrah, and let the chumrah be on the inside as opposed to the outside coming down?
When you're not sure.
You got 4 tefachim, and you're not sure, so it can come down on the inside or come down on the outside, right? So you're saying it comes down on the outside, that'd be a kula, wouldn't it?
It would be a cooler, but if
So if you said it came down on the inside.
yeah, but we're not just going to be machmir for the sake of being mach. We're not looking for every. If you have a certain no, when you're in doubt, you're machmir. But here, this Mandi Amar holds. I mean, it's not me. It's Rashi. One more time. Let's do Rashi one more time. Mandi Amar. Tefach kasava mutar shtamish tachas akor the Amar, because we say chudoy hachitzon, the flat outer part, yor v'sose, comes down and encloses the situation. Kinamash will come on v'hilkach, and therefore, if that's your view, and why wouldn't it be that? Or why wouldn't that be a legitimate view? V'hilkach kiv neshir esrim ama mishum heker. Okay, since the shear, in other words, there's two different elements. There's the 20 amma shear, and there's a lumdis of the korah. What does it do? So it seems like both are at play. In Rashi, it seems like both issues are at play. You want it to be 20 or less because of the recognition, but the lumdis of why it is that it's good enough, seems like you need both. Seems like both things are at play. He says, the hilkach kivun the shear esrim amma mishum heker, harei yesh heker la'omed alosa tefach she Nigva tachasakara. So there is a hecker because I'm underneath the beam. Okay, it's amazing that we're dealing mamish with inches here, and yet somehow there's enough time for me to get this all in my head and recognize what's going on. But I'm carrying up until literally till Wilshire Boulevard. At the point where I'm mamish at Wilshire, right above me is the Korah. It is less than 20 amas at that point, so I am going to recognize where I am and everything is good. So, I mean, it's these two things sort of play together. Since I can carry all the way up to Wilshire, so I can carry within the area of that cross beam, so, underneath it, that will allow me to then recognize it. And the reason why I can go all the way up to the edge of that cross beam is because we hold the outer edge, comes straight down, and serves as a mechitza. So those two things work together to allow only a tefach. That's Rav Yosef's position. Okay, top of the page in Rashi. Umandi Omar Abo Kasava also Shtamish Tachasakora. He'll take the more stricter approach that makes Michael happy. Came a machmer all of a sudden. Okay, so Rabbi says no, you cannot carry underneath the cross beam. The Chuda Hapanimi Yorvisaisem, because the inner flat part, the part that's a little bit tefach into the alleyway away from Wilshire, that is what comes flat down. And if that's a part that comes down, then it would come out that the mavli ends one tefach before Wilshire Boulevard. So that means I will never be carrying underneath the beam because I've got to stop carrying right as I approach the beam.
Then you would almost need to do the elevation before it.
Right, I guess.
Right? I mean,
yeah, I thought about it. Right.
You need to be within 20.
So somehow we don't seem to require that. I hear you. I was thinking about the same thing. So why do we even?
But why does it need to be under it? It should be in front of it.
Right. And another thing is why should even the part underneath count as a 4? It's even more than that.
Right.
You really should need 4. Somehow we don't seem to require that much. It seems like that much will count because at the end of the day it's still open. And I guess it's sort of like a in between kind of situation. But yeah, it seems like a valid point. So if you're going to just make it a tefach, those who are carrying in the mavi will have no recognition regarding the beam. Okay, because at that point they're too low, they're too far away from that beam. They're over 20 amas, and it's not going to be good. You therefore have to extend the elevation into the mavi. Because you want the beam to be recognizable to them when they actually are using and carrying in that height. The afikte mitachas hakora. Once you have to clearly extend it beyond the beam, you must elevate it. So it needs to be a clearly choshev recognizable place, right? So the reason why you need 4 is once you get out of the realm of a tefach, of the idea of carrying right underneath it, then you have to have a choshev a place. So I guess since Lamaisa, it is imaginary. This whole thing is not actual in terms of the wall coming down. If you can have a 4 tefach area that's elevated, including the tefach underneath the korah, it's a choshev thing. You can see it, you can recognize it, and it becomes a choshev amount to qualify as a raised area. So the raised area, according to Abaye, needs to be 4 tefachim, and the reason why you need 4 is because you're not allowed to carry underneath the beam. And why can't you carry underneath the beam? Because of the fact that you cannot since you cannot carry underneath the beam, you have to start the area outside the beam, and once you have to go outside the beam, it needs to be at least 4 tefachim to make it choshev. Okay. So is this a valid approach? Well, it seems valid, but the Gemara says, I don't like being pigeonholed. So I don't think we're going to want to make the machlokis whether or not mutter or asur shtamish tachas hakara. So let's see what the Gemara's comeback is going to be. Where it says, lo, second line on hey, Amen Aleph. Loy, the kuliyama kasavri mutter shtamish tachas hakara. I'll answer you back. Everyone could say you can carry all the way to the edge of the cross beam and mamish walk up to the Wilshire Boulevard itself. No, we're not going to argue that point. So then what's the point to argue? Ubalkamifigli. The machlokes is as follows. Mar sava kura mishum heker, mar sava kura mishum mechitza. Okay, so you're allowed to carry underneath the cross beam, but the machlokes is going to be, what does this beam serve? Is it mishum heker just to create an environment or a situation where I am cognizant of the fact that I have a reminder that this is where the mavi ends? Is that good enough to create that situation okay, I'm aware? Is that the lamdis umasav akar mishum mechitza? The other one says no, that a korah must actually serve a halachic wall and it has to come down, and that's the reason why this happens, why it's good. Let's see Rashi. Lo, the kuliyama mutter. I'll tell you, everyone agrees you're allowed to walk all the way up to the edge. Ubahakamifigli, and they're arguing about this. They're arguing about this issue.
I need to go to sleep, so make sure the milk's put away.
Sure. Thank you. Okay. He says, one second here. He says, you should. The Kulyam with the Masav Akura Shetikacham. So now in Rashi, so Masavar. It's simply no more than a question of causing you to recognize where you are. We don't want you to think that it's okay to carry Rishus Harabim. So we just need a recognition and a reminder for people to know this is a Mavi, that's Rishus Harabim, and the twain shall never meet. Okay, and once there is a recognition, as you carry underneath the beam, because right now we're holding, everybody holds, you can carry into the mamish up to Wilshire. So I'm carrying underneath the elevated area. I see the beam in front of me. I'm recognizing the beam is on top of me. So we're good. We have recognition and we're good to go. So all you need is a tefach, and everyone holds, you can carry up to Wilshire. So everyone can carry up to Wilshire. Why does the bias say 4 tefachim? Next Rashi, Uman di Omar. Okay, no. The other one will say, Abaye's position is going to be that, of course, yes, it's true, you can carry all the way up to Wilshire, but the lumdis of a korah that's matter in a mavi is because of mechitza. Damrina, why? Damrina chuda achitz and yorvisosim. The outer edge comes down to serve as this imaginary wall. V'amrabanan the betfei eshim lo yamrina yorvisosim. And we say that. So the 20 is now a double technicality. The problem with the 20 is not just if it's more than 20 amis, you're not going to see it. The problem is that if it's more than 20 amis, it's not going to come down. Okay, it can't come down more than 20 amis. It's part of the Lochem Hashem Sinai. This imaginary wall that comes down, right, is right. If it's more than 20 amis, it's not going to come down. It just, why not? What's the difference? There's a difference. That's part of the rules of the Halacha Moshe Sinai game of Pitik Yor V'Sosei. So now it can't go down. So you've got to now raise the floor so that it retroactively, it could create a new scenario which allows the side of the core to come down. The only trouble is if when it comes down to the floor, how choshev does the floor have to be? So now we're putting in another factor into the equation. So let's read Rashi inside. The logic of why it comes down has to do with the laws of mechitza. Right, it comes straight down. We don't say that rule when it's more than 20 amas off the ground. The kim the levimiyut, since it's not a right, and if you don't make the miyut 4, if you don't have a choshev diminishing of the height, have a mechitza suyla pachos midalid. What you have then is a mechitza coming down for an area less than 4 tfachim. If a wall is a wall for an area less than 4 tfachim, it ain't a wall. Even though it looks like a wall and serves like a wall, it ain't really a wall because it's not a mechitza, because you're not separating something that's choshev. A wall has to serve as an area that has some significance. If it's less than 4 tefachim, it has no significance. Okay, v'kaimlan b'chol duchta, and we have a rule in all places: the mechitza she'ena ruya l'dav lav mechitzi. A mechitza that's not fit to serve an area of 4 is not a mechitza. Because we know that the private domain, there's no such thing as a private domain that's less than a 4x4 area. If you have such an area, it's a mokum patur, less than 4x4. Even though it is surrounded by mechitzas of 10 tfachim, but it's not. It won't be called a mechitza because this shows we say the same thing. We'll learn about that later on about the pipes there and the poles of Chani ben Akavia. That there's not a mechitza unless you have an airspace of 4 which we'll see later on in on Daf Pevav. Okay, so we already have now 2 possible versions. Either they're arguing in whether or not you can carry underneath the beam, or you can say they're arguing not everyone holds you could carry underneath the beam, but they're arguing is the mechitza, is the korah, lumdus of a korah, what does it do, and why is the 20 such a critical distance? Is it because simply of heker, in which case you would be able to carry and all you need is a tefach, and the other one says no, it's because of mechitza and you need an area 4x4. That's pshat number 2. If you don't like that, I still have more options for you.
But you also need it under 20. I mean, really, then you need 3 things, right? In that regard.
What do you mean 3?
I mean, it's kind of satisfying 3 things. That it, be 20 or less to be seen, and 20 or less to reach all the way down, and then at least 4 down to be a
chash of a place, right? Correct. Okay, viba seima, and if you don't like those 2 alternatives, I still have something else coming your way. Viba seima t'kuliyam makor mishum heker. I'll tell you, the mechitza factor is not a factor, okay, and that's not what a korah serves as some lomdasha imaginary wall. We don't need that. You do need it to take your paper in from the hotel room, but you don't need it here. So what's the problem? They're arguing about whether the recognition on top is the same as the recognition below, or reverse that. The recognition below is the same as the recognition on top. One says that the recognition of the area below needs to be the same as the recognition above, which is only a tefach. That the rules of the recognition area below are different than the rules of the recognition area above. That's alternative number 3. Rashi. No Rashi. Okay, so that's okay. But basically, in other words, maybe the idea is that since it's lower to the ground, you need to have a greater level of recognition. And the fact that even though, on top, less than 20 is good with a tefach, with only a tefach thickness, it's not going to work when it comes to below. Below, you need more of a choshev area to, make you fully aware of the circumstances. Okay, that's pshat number 3. And pshat number 4, vibos ema, or I'll give you another alternative, the kuliyam amrinan heker shamata kekel shamayla. I'll tell you, really, you just have to match it up. And the recognition of a korah on top is no different than the recognition of the ground below. If each one's a tefach, it's fine, because the rules are the same. There's no higher level rules for the below area than for the above area. So what's the issue here? He says, It's a more of a practical issue. Are we afraid that in the hustle and bustle of what you're doing here, will it become diminished, and that you will not recognize when the area indeed will be lessened, in which case, oops, you're back to the same old problem again. You've got more than 20 amis, and when you have a 4x4, you're much more protective, because as it starts chipping away and there are holes and potholes that are forming, you'll come to recognize it. But if it's only one tefach, and then boom, you got a nice pothole there, you're back to where you started from, and boom, you don't have a recognition, and you're in major trouble. Okay, let's take a look at Rashi. Gzeira Shema Yivchas Aidei Drisis Raglayim Yivchas Hamiyut. Right, the lessening, the how do you lessen it? You raise the ground. The raising of the ground as time goes on, as we know with all highways and all byways, right? Eventually, holes start merging, and the wear and tear of people walking on it, it's going to start getting less again. So here you raised it, but it's not going to last. So the raising of the ground to lessen the amount will become diminished, and it'll become less than a tefach. Okay, and there you have, you won't have the full amount of the tefach available. If you need more than that tefach. The kivan da fikte meheker shomayla, once you take it out of the realm of only one tefach, which is paralleling the upper area, what's the next amount? The next amount after tefach is 4 tefachim. We always go to something that makes sense as a recognized area of significance, and that's 4 tefachim. So once you're nervous about the concept of the fact that the wear and tear is going to make it less than a tefach, so you have to go beyond that. The logical thing is to go 4 tefachim, and then that would be also a logical interpretation of the machlokes, very similar to Pshat 3.
But it's not really preventing the erosion, it's just saying that another part of it would still need it.
Right, and then you'll have more time, right, so you'll have more time to recognize it, to fix it up. But right, but if you go with 1 tefach, before you know it, it'll be less than a tefach, and then you'll be in trouble. Right, so basically it's buying you some more time, because right, you got the other area to sort of cover yourself. Right. Okay, so these are the 4 pshatim, and now we're ready to go weiter. And now the weiter is the other side of the equation. What happens if the mavui is too low? Right? Okay, so what happens if it's less than 10 tefachim? This mavui is less than 10 tefachim. I guess you got to do a little limbo routine to get out of the mavui, because I don't know how you're gonna. Right? How you going to, maybe you can jump over it if you're a high jumper. I guess 40 inches is not the end of the world. Okay. But so now what do you have to do? So again, one attitude obviously would be you raise the beam and then you're good to go. But for some reason raising beams was more complicated apparently. And therefore what you're going to do is you're going to dig into the ground to create a more than 10 tefach height of the korah. But the question is the same question. How much you have to dig, how much of the ground has to be dug to make it 10 tefach? Just the 1 tefach? Same type of issue, right? Same idea, but instead of raising it, we're digging. Because we're not raising the ground, we're opening up the ground. Okay, so he says kama chokek. So same, how much you have to dig to make the mavui valid. So kama chokek, same question. How much you have to dig? Kama tzorchle. The amount that you have to dig. What kind of question is that? Ela moshcha bekama. The question is the same question. No, my question is how much deeper into and because you're digging here, the word moshcha, which is a more specific language, that's the question. How much must you enter into the mavui in terms of your digging to make it into a valid area of more than 10 tefachim distance between the ground and between the korah, which was, so how much is it? Rav Yosef Amar B'Dalid. Rav Yosef here says you need dalet tefachim. He adopts Abaye's numbers of dalet tefachim, and Abaye expands his position. Abaye Barba Amos. So here you have a very different numbers. Here you have Rav Yosef saying minimally it's 4 tfachim, and Abaye saying no, you got to go mamish to 4 amos. That's a nice dig. You need a bunch of shovels to get that happening. Okay, so lema b'Rav Ami Rav Asi kamifli. Let us say that the issue here is an issue that they're arguing about Rav Ami and Rav Asi. Okay, let's just do the Rashi here because we're running out of time. Moshcho shel chakak, the length of the digging, l'toch orach hamavi, into the distance of the mavi, into the length of the mavi. How far into the mavi must you go? So Rashi just now explains language linguistically. Here we use moshcho, and there we use orcho, the length. So how come there's a different language? B'davra bole kigon miut shach lemema rochev, with something that protrudes and comes up. Like the lessening, that's where the word rochev is appropriate. Okay, but something that goes in, umakivas os and mechitzos, okay, and then you have the mechitzos surrounding it, could go in chakak, like digging, shaykh leima loshen meshach. There, the appropriate terminology is the word meshach, the word length, as opposed to the word rochev. So he's just explaining why in the earlier Gemara we use rochev, and in this Gemara we use meshach. Okay, let us, let's pick this up tomorrow with a new sugya. Okay, Kol Tov.